Marcus Stone knew he was going to hell. He'd known it for 3 years, 2 months, and 17 days, ever since he'd failed to protect Zoe Laurent, and she'd spent 30 days in a cartel's basement, learning what monsters looked like when they wore human faces. What he hadn't known was that hell would look like the Russell Senate office building on a Tuesday morning, with Zoe Laurent sitting across from him in her congressional office, looking like vengeance wrapped in a tailored navy suit. "No," Marcus said. "You haven't heard my offer yet." Her voice was different than he remembered, harder, sharper, like a blade that had been tempered in fire. "I don't need to. The answer is no." Zoe leaned back in her leather chair, her dark eyes assessing him the way a general might assess a battlefield. She'd changed in 3 years. Gone was the idealistic 25-year-old senator's daughter with dreams of changing the world through policy. In her place sat a woman who'd seen the world's underbelly and decided to burn it down from the inside. She was beautiful. She was terrifying, and Marcus couldn't look at her without seeing his greatest failure. Before we go any further, comment where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe, because tomorrow's story is one you don't want to miss. Thank you so much for choosing this story today. I know the internet is full of distractions, but you're here with me, and that means everything. So tell me, how's your day treating you? Good? Chaotic? Somewhere in between? Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned, because I've got daily romance stories coming your way that will leave you absolutely breathless. Now, back to Marcus and Zoe. "I'm the youngest woman ever elected to Congress," Zoe continued as if he hadn't spoken, "which means I have targets on my back from every direction, political rivals, lobbyists I've pissed off, and let's not forget the Cordova cartel, who have very good reasons to want me dead before I can use my new subpoena power to investigate them." Marcus's jaw tightened at the cartel's name. The same organization that had taken her, the same one the FBI had assured Senator Laurent was handled. They'd lied. "You need security. Hire someone else. Secret Service has a whole division." "I don't want someone else." Zoe stood, moving around her desk with the predatory grace of someone who'd learned to never show weakness. "I want you. Specifically, you. The man who was the best in the business before you quit. The man who protected 2 presidents and never lost a principle. The man who failed you." The words came out brutal, honest. "I failed you, Congresswoman, which is exactly why I'm the last person who should be protecting you now." Something flickered across her face, pain, maybe, or memory, but it was gone so fast Marcus might have imagined it. "You didn't fail me, Marcus. The intelligence failed, the backup failed, the entire operation was compromised before it started." She was close now, close enough that he could smell her perfume. Something expensive and dangerous, nothing like the soft floral scent she'd worn 3 years ago. "But you? You came for me. You found me when everyone else said I was dead. You carried me out of that basement and you didn't leave me, not even when—" "Don't." His voice was rough. "Don't romanticize what happened." "I'm not romanticizing anything, and I'm stating facts." Zoe's eyes held his, unflinching. "And here's another fact. I'm going after them, Marcus, the Cordova cartel, everyone who was involved in my kidnapping. I'm using my congressional position to launch an investigation that will expose every politician, every law enforcement official, every businessman who's on their payroll. And when I'm done, I'm going to watch them burn." Ice flooded Marcus's veins. That's not justice, that's suicide. "Maybe, but it's happening either way. The question is whether you're going to protect me while I do it, or whether I'm going to hire someone less qualified who'll fail when it matters most." She was manipulating him, using his guilt, his sense of duty, his gnawing need for redemption. Marcus knew all the tactics, had used them himself in interrogations, negotiations, psychological operations. Knowing didn't make them less effective. "Why me?" he asked quietly. "Really? You could have anyone, younger agents, people without our history. Why drag me back into this?" Zoe's expression softened. Barely, but enough that Marcus saw the girl she'd been underneath the armor she'd built. "Because you're the only person who understands what they took from me. The only one who saw what I looked like when you found me in that basement. The only one who knows why I can't let this go." She paused. "And because when I close my eyes at night, When the nightmares come, the only face I trust to keep me safe is yours, even if you hate me for it." The honesty gutted him. Marcus had spent 3 years taking the most dangerous private security contracts he could find, protecting oil executives in Baghdad, escorting journalists through Mogadishu. Anything that kept him moving, kept him from thinking. He'd been shot twice, stabbed once, and had accumulated enough near-death experiences to fill a book. All of it penance for 30 days he couldn't get back. "I don't hate you," he said roughly. "I hate myself. Every goddamn day, I hate myself for not being faster, smarter, better, for not keeping you safe when that was the one job that mattered." "Then help me finish it." Zoe's hand reached out, hovering near his arm but not quite touching, like she wanted to but had forgotten how. "Help me destroy the people who did this, not as the failure who lost a principle, as the partner who's going to make damn sure I survive long enough to get justice. Partner, not protector. Not bodyguard." The distinction mattered. Marcus looked at her, really looked, saw the determination in her eyes, the set of her jaw, the way she held herself like a weapon ready to fire. Zoe Laurent wasn't the victim he'd failed anymore. She was a force of nature, and she was going to war whether he joined her or not. Which meant the real question wasn't whether to protect her. It was whether he could survive watching her self-destruct from the sidelines. 6 months, he heard himself say. "I'll give you 6 months, but I'm head of security, which means my word is final on safety protocols. You don't go anywhere, meet anyone, or investigate anything without my approval, and if I say we pull back, we pull back. No arguments." Zoe's smile was sharp and victorious. "Deal. When can you start?" "I already have." Marcus pulled out his phone, showing her the security assessment he'd run on her office at the moment he'd entered. "Your locks are outdated, your windows aren't reinforced, and you have 3 staff members with concerning financial vulnerabilities. We'll need to replace all of them, upgrade your security systems, and get you moved to a more defensible office location. You assessed my security before agreeing to take to the job?" "I assessed your security the day you won the election." He met her eyes. "Did you really think I wasn't keeping tabs on you? Making sure the new team was competent? You might have left my protection detail, Congresswoman, but you never left my responsibility." Something shifted in Zoe's expression. Surprise, maybe gratitude, something softer than the armor she'd been wearing. "You've been watching over me for 3 years and never made contact? You made it clear you didn't want to see me. I respected that. I was angry, hurt, blaming everyone including you for something that wasn't anyone's fault but the cartel's." She looked away. "I'm not that person anymore, Marcus. I can't afford to be." "I know." And that was what scared him most. The Zoe he'd failed had been full of hope and optimism. This Zoe was full of rage and determination. Both were dangerous, but only one knew how to channel that danger into action. "So we're doing this?" Zoe asked. "Full partnership? You keep me alive, I take them down?" Marcus should have said no, should have walked away, recommended someone else, protected his sanity if not his soul. Instead, he extended his hand. "We're doing this. But Zoe, when this is over, when you've gotten your revenge or gotten yourself killed trying, I want you to promise me something." She took his hand. Her grip was firm, certain, and sent electricity racing up his arm that he absolutely could not acknowledge. "What?" "Promise me that after we destroy them, you'll find a way to live again. Really live, not just survive." Zoe's smile was sad. "Only if you promise the same." They shook on it. 2 broken people making impossible promises, forming a partnership that would either save them both or destroy what was left of their souls. Marcus had a feeling he knew which one it would be. But as Zoe's hand lingered in his for just a moment too long, as her eyes held his with something that looked almost like hope, he realized the truth. He'd been in love with Zoe Laurent since the day he'd carried her out of that basement, blood on her skin and terror in her eyes. And falling in love with the woman he'd failed to protect was the most dangerous thing Marcus Stone had ever done. The first threat came 3 hours after Marcus officially signed on as Zoe's head of security. A manila envelope, hand-delivered to her congressional office, no return address. Inside, photos of Zoe from that morning, walking into the building, sitting at a cafe 2 blocks away, unlocking her apartment door the night before. And a note typed on plain white paper. Welcome to Congress, Congresswoman Laurent. Some ghosts should stay buried. Stop asking questions, or we'll remind you what basements feel like. Marcus watched Zoe read the note, watched her hands tremble slightly before she controlled them, watched the flash of fear cross her face before rage replaced it. "They've been watching me," she said quietly. "For weeks, probably. These photos are surveillance quality, taken by professionals." Marcus was already on his phone, coordinating with his team. "We're moving you tonight. New apartment, full security detail, no more walking anywhere alone. They want me scared. They want you to back off the investigation." Marcus met her eyes. "Are you?" Zoe's smile was cold. "Not a chance. If anything, this proves we're on the right track. They're worried. Good. They should be." This was why Marcus had known he'd say yes. Because Zoe Laurent didn't back down from threats, she ran straight toward them. Consequences be damned. It was admirable. It was terrifying, and it was going to get her killed if he wasn't careful. "Then we do this smart," Marcus said. "We build a case carefully, protect your sources, and we don't give them any openings to hurt you again." "Agreed." Zoe stood, gathering her things. "Where are we going?" "Safe house in Georgetown. Secured building, controlled access, my team on site 24/7. He paused. "It's also where I'll be staying. Close proximity is necessary for effective protection." Something flashed in Zoe's eyes, nervousness maybe, or awareness of what it meant to have Marcus Stone in her space constantly. "How close?" "Same floor, separate apartments, but connected through a secure corridor." He kept his voice professional, even as every instinct screamed that being that close to her was a terrible idea. "Is that a problem?" "No," but her voice was slightly breathless. "No problem at all." Liar, Marcus thought. But he was lying too. Because the real problem wasn't the cartel, or the threats, or even Zoe's vendetta. The real problem was that Marcus had spent 3 years trying to forget how it felt to hold Zoe Laurent in his arms as he carried her to safety. And now he was about to spend 6 months close enough to touch her, protect her, watch her transform her trauma into power. And somewhere between keeping her alive and helping her get revenge, Marcus was going to have to figure out how to do the impossible. Protect her from everyone, including himself. The Georgetown safe house was a study in controlled paranoia. Marcus had acquired the building 2 years ago, a renovated brownstone with reinforced walls, bulletproof windows, and enough surveillance equipment to make the NSA jealous. The top 2 floors belonged to him. He'd converted the 3rd floor into a secure apartment for high-value principals who needed temporary protection. He'd never imagined Zoe Laurent would be living there. Zoe stood in the center of the apartment, taking in the minimalist furniture, the state-of-the-art security panel by the door, the complete lack of personality. Depressing. "It's secure." Marcus set down her bags, 2 suitcases hastily packed from her apartment under his team's watchful eyes. "You can decorate however you want, within reason." "Within reason meaning no windows I can actually see through?" She gestured at the privacy film covering every pane of glass. "Meaning no changes that compromise security. The film stays. It's one way. You can see out, but snipers can't see in." Zoe's expression flickered, just for a moment, fear breaking through her armor. Marcus hated that he'd put it there, hated that she had to live this way because the world had monsters in it. Hated more that he hadn't stopped those monsters 3 years ago. "I'll get used to it," she said, forcing brightness into her voice. "Show me the rest?" Marcus led her through the apartment. 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, a kitchen stocked with basics, a secure office space with encrypted communications, everything she needed to live and work while hunting the people who tried to break her. "Your bedroom has a panic button by the bed," he explained, pointing to the small red switch. "Press it, and I'm through that door." He indicated a reinforced door connecting to his apartment above. "In under 10 seconds. My team monitors all entry points 24/7. No one gets in or out without us knowing." "What about you?" Zoe's eyes held his. "Do you get monitored too, or are you special?" "I'm the one doing the monitoring." "Right. Of course." She moved to the window, staring out at Georgetown's elegant streets through the privacy film. "This is going to be my life now, living in a cage while trying to catch the people who want me dead." It's temporary. Marcus kept his distance, every instinct screaming at him to comfort her, to close the space between them. Once we've neutralized the threat. There is no neutralizing this threat, Marcus, not really. She turned to face him, and the raw honesty in her expression hit him like a physical blow. The Cordova cartel has billions of dollars in connections that go all the way to the top. Even if I expose their congressional allies, even if I destroy their networks, there will always be someone who wants revenge. This isn't temporary. This is my life now. She was right. Marcus knew she was right. Taking on an organization this powerful meant living with a target on your back forever. But he couldn't tell her that. Couldn't confirm what she already knew, that her quest for justice was also a suicide mission. Then we make the cage as comfortable as possible, he said instead, and we make damn sure they regret putting you in it. Zoe's smile was small but genuine. There's the Marcus I remember, always practical, never sugarcoating. Someone has to be the realist in this partnership. Partnership, she tested the word. Is that really what this is? Or am I just another principal you're protecting? Marcus met her eyes. You stopped being just another principal the day I carried you out of that basement covered in blood that wasn't all yours. This is personal, Zoe. It's been personal since the beginning. The air between them shifted, charged, dangerous, full of things neither of them could afford to acknowledge. Personal how? Zoe's voice was soft, almost hesitant, like she was afraid of the answer but needed to hear it anyway. Marcus should have deflected, should have kept it professional, maintained boundaries, protected them both from the complication of feelings. Instead, he told her the truth. I think about you every day, have thought about you every day for 3 years. I see your face when I close my eyes. I hear your voice in every crowd. I measure every mission, every risk, every decision against one question. Would this be enough to make up for failing you? He paused, his jaw tight. So yes, Zoe, this is personal, dangerously, irrationally personal, which is why we need rules. Rules, she breathed the word like a challenge. Rules, Marcus confirmed, because if we don't establish boundaries now, this partnership is going to implode before we even start. Zoe crossed her arms and Marcus tried not to notice how the gesture emphasized curves he had no business noticing. What kind of rules? Professional distance, no blurring lines between protector and principal, no unnecessary physical contact, no late-night conversations that aren't about security or the investigation. Each rule felt like a lie even as he spoke it. And absolutely no acting on whatever this is between us. Whatever this is, Zoe repeated, moving closer. You mean the fact that I've been thinking about you too? That I spent 3 years being angry at you because being angry was easier than admitting I missed you? That the only time I feel safe anymore is when you're near me? Marcus's breath caught. Zoe. Or maybe you mean the fact that I specifically requested you as my head of security because I wanted you close, even knowing it would hurt? She was right in front of him now, close enough that he could see the gold flecks in her dark eyes. Because I'm tired of pretending I don't feel something every time you look at me like I'm precious instead of broken. You're not broken. The words came out rough, almost angry. What happened to you was evil, but it didn't break you. It made you into this. He gestured at her, at the fierce, determined woman she'd become. Someone strong enough to go to war with monsters. Then why do I still feel broken? Her voice cracked. Why do I still wake up screaming? Why can't I let anyone touch me without flinching except... She stopped, but Marcus heard what she didn't say. Except you. Zoe! He reached for her without thinking, his hand cupping her face with a gentleness that contradicted everything he'd just said about boundaries. You survived something that would have destroyed most people. You're not broken. You're healing. There's a difference. She leaned into his touch, her eyes closing. This breaks all your rules. I know. We should stop. We should. But Marcus didn't move, didn't pull away, couldn't force himself to let go when she was finally letting him close. Zoe's eyes opened, meeting his with an intensity that stole his breath. What if I don't want rules, Marcus? What if I want to feel something other than rage and fear? What if I want... His phone buzzed. Then again. Then the security system alarm in his apartment started blaring. Marcus pulled away from Zoe, instantly alert, his hand going to the weapon at his hip. "Stay here. Lock the door behind me. Don't open it for anyone except—" "What's happening?" Someone just triggered the perimeter alarm. He was already moving toward the connecting door. "Could be nothing. Could be them testing our response time. Either way, I need to check it out." "I'm coming with you." "Absolutely not. You stay here where it's secure." "We're partners, remember? Which means I don't hide while you face threats alone." Zoe was already grabbing her jacket, her expression brooking no argument. "Besides, you said yourself no one gets in or out without your team knowing. If they're testing our response, they need to see both of us ready to respond." Marcus wanted to argue, wanted to lock her in this apartment and face whatever was outside alone. But she was right. They were partners now, not protector in principle. Even if every instinct screamed at him to keep her behind bulletproof walls forever. "Fine. But you stay behind me. You follow my instructions exactly, and if I say run, you run. Understood?" "Understood." But her smile said she had no intention of running anywhere. They moved through the connecting door into Marcus's apartment, sparse, functional, with weapons strategically placed throughout. He grabbed an extra vest, tossing it to Zoe. "Put this on." She strapped on the vest without hesitation, her movements practiced. Marcus felt a pang. She shouldn't have to know how to wear body armor, shouldn't have to prepare for combat like a soldier instead of a congresswoman. But she did, and watching her transform from vulnerable to warrior in seconds was both heartbreaking and captivating. His team leader, Jackson, was waiting in the hallway. "Sir, we've got movement on the south perimeter. 2 individuals, civilian dress, approached the building and triggered the motion sensors. They backed off when the lights activated, but they're still in the area." "Surveillance or reconnaissance?" Marcus asked. "Unknown. Could be civilians who got lost. Could be cartel scouts testing our security. Or it could be a distraction." Marcus scanned the security feeds on his tablet. "Pull up all cameras. I want eyes on every approach." As Jackson coordinated with the rest of the team, Zoe moved closer to Marcus, studying the feeds over his shoulder. She was close enough that he could feel her warmth, smell her perfume, close enough that it took active effort to focus on securities instead of her proximity. "There," Zoe pointed at one of the screens. "North camera. Someone just moved behind that car." Marcus zoomed in. She was right, a figure in dark clothing, partially concealed, watching the building. "That's coordinated," he said grimly. "South side draws our attention, while north side observes our response. They're testing us." "So what do we do?" Marcus made a decision. "Jackson, take positions 2 and 4 and sweep the perimeter. I want those individuals identified and tracked. Don't engage unless they pose an immediate threat, but make it clear we see them." "Copy that." As his team moved into position, Marcus turned to Zoe. "This is just the beginning. They're going to probe our defenses, test our limits, try to find weaknesses. Are you sure you want to go through with this? Because once we start pushing back publicly on your investigation, it's going to get a lot worse." Zoe's expression was steel. "I'm sure. They think I'm still that scared girl they kept in a basement. Let them keep thinking that while we prepare to tear their world apart." God help him, Marcus had never been more attracted to anyone in his life. "All right then, tomorrow we start building our case. We'll need access to your father's old files, any intelligence he gathered during your kidnapping, and connections in the FBI who aren't on the cartel's payroll." "I have all of that. My father." She paused, emotion flickering across her face. "He never stopped investigating after I was rescued. Spent his last 2 years as senator compiling evidence. He left everything to me when he died." Marcus went still. "I didn't know your father passed. I'm sorry, Zoe." "Heart attack 6 months ago. The doctor said it was natural, but I know better. The stress of what happened to me, the guilt he carried." Her voice hardened. "They killed him just as surely as if they put a bullet in him. It just took longer." Another reason for her vendetta, another name on the list of people the cartel had taken from her. "Then we make them pay," Marcus said quietly. "For you, for your father, for everyone they've hurt. We make them pay in ways they never see coming." Zoe's hand found his, squeezed once. "Thank you for understanding why I have to do this, for not trying to talk me out of it. I would never try to talk you out of justice. He squeezed back, then reluctantly released her hand before he did something stupid, like pull her close and never let go. But I will make damn sure you survive to see it delivered. Jackson's voice came through Marcus's earpiece. Perimeter clear. Both individuals left the area in a black sedan. We got plates, running them now. Good work. Maintain elevated alert status until we know more. Marcus guided Zoe back toward her apartment, hyper-aware of how close they were in the narrow hallway, how easy it would be to turn toward her instead of away. At her door, Zoe paused. Your rules, about professional distance and no unnecessary contact. What about them? I think we already broke them. Her smile was soft, almost shy, a glimpse of the woman she'd been before. But I'm not sorry. Neither am I. The admission cost him. But it can't happen again, Zoe. Not if I'm going to keep you safe. I can't be objective about protecting you if I'm... He stopped, unable to finish the sentence. If you're what? She moved closer, her hand rising to rest against his chest, right over his heart. If you're falling for me. If you already have. Because I need to know, Marcus. I need to know if what I'm feeling is real, or if I'm just trauma bonding with my protector. Marcus caught her hand, held it against his chest where his heart was thundering. It's real, Zoe. Dangerously, catastrophically real. I've been falling for you since the day I met you 3 years ago, since you smiled at me and said you trusted me to keep you safe, since I failed you and you became the reason I couldn't forgive myself. You didn't fail me. I did, and I'll spend the rest of my life making up for it. He brought her hand to his lips, kissed her palm once. But I can't make up for it if I'm distracted by how much I want you. So the rules stand, Zoe, for both our sakes. Tears shimmered in her eyes. What if I don't want to wait? What if I want to feel something good before the next threat, the next attack, the next reminder that I might not survive this? Then I'll give you something good. Marcus pulled her close, breaking his own rules, unable to stop himself. I'll keep you alive long enough to destroy everyone who hurt you. I'll stand beside you while you get your justice. And when it's over, when you're finally safe and whole and ready, he pressed his forehead to hers. I'll spend the rest of my life showing you what it means to be loved by someone who knows your darkness and chooses you anyway. Zoe's breath hitched. That's a hell of a promise, Marcus Stone. It's the only promise that matters. He forced himself to step back, to release her before he couldn't. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we start the real work. She nodded, lingering in the doorway. Marcus, when this is over, when I'm finally safe, I'm going to hold you to that promise. Good. His smile was rough, because I've never made a promise I didn't intend to keep. Zoe disappeared into her apartment. The lock clicked, and Marcus stood in the hallway, breathing hard, wondering how the hell he was supposed to protect the woman he loved while maintaining enough distance to stay objective. It was impossible. But Marcus Stone had built a career on doing impossible things. He'd just never had to do them while his heart was on the line. The nightmare started on the third night. Marcus woke to the sound of screaming, raw, terrified, the kind of sound that came from reliving hell. He was through the connecting door in seconds, weapon drawn, clearing the apartment with lethal efficiency before his brain caught up to what his instincts already knew. Not an attack, a nightmare. Zoe was in her bed, tangled in sheets, fighting invisible demons. Her face was wet with tears, her body rigid with terror, and she was screaming words in Spanish, no, por favor, no más, that made Marcus's blood run cold. Zoe! He holstered his weapon, approached slowly, careful not to startle her. Zoe, wake up. You're safe. You're in Georgetown. No one can hurt you here. She didn't respond, still trapped in whatever memory held her. Marcus sat on the edge of the bed, took her hand gently. Come back to me, Zoe. Follow my voice. You're not there anymore. You're here. You're safe. And I've got you. Her eyes flew open, wild, unfocused, still seeing the basement instead of him. She lashed out, her fist connecting with his jaw before he could react. Marcus took the hit without flinching. It's me. It's Marcus. You're safe. Recognition flooded her expression, followed immediately by horror. "Oh God, Marcus, I'm sorry, I didn't mean—" "I know." He caught her hand before she could pull away. "You were having a nightmare. Do you remember what it was about?" "The basement." Her voice was small, broken. "It's always the basement. The smell of diesel and copper, the sounds of—" She stopped, shuddering. "I thought I was getting better. It's been months since I had one this bad." Stress triggers them. The threats today, moving to a new location, starting the investigation. Marcus kept his voice calm, clinical, even as his heart shattered watching her relive her trauma. "It's a normal response to abnormal circumstances. There's nothing normal about waking up screaming 3 years later." Zoe pulled her knees to her chest, suddenly looking years younger. "I hate that they still have this power over me. I hate that I can't sleep without seeing their faces." Marcus made a decision that broke every rule he'd set. He moved onto the bed properly, sitting against the headboard and pulling Zoe against his chest. She stiffened for half a second, then melted into him, her body shaking with silent sobs. "I've got you," he murmured into her hair. "I'm right here, and nothing's getting through me. Not tonight, not ever." "You can't promise that. Watch me." He tightened his arms around her. "Tell me what you need, Zoe. How do I make this better?" "You can't. No one can." But she burrowed closer, her fingers clutching his shirt like a lifeline. "When I was in that basement, I used to imagine you would come. I'd hear footsteps and think, this time it's Marcus, this time he found me. And then it would be them instead, and I'd have to survive another day." Guilt stabbed through Marcus's chest like a blade. "I looked for you every second of those 30 days. I didn't sleep, didn't eat, drove my entire team to exhaustion searching. But it wasn't enough. I wasn't fast enough. You found me eventually. That's what matters. I found you broken and bleeding, barely alive. That's what I failed to prevent." His voice was raw. "And now you have nightmares where you relive it over and over, and I can't even give you the one thing you need. Safety. Real safety. The kind where you don't wake up screaming." Zoe pulled back to look at him, her eyes red but fierce. "You do give me safety, Marcus. You're the only person who makes me feel like I might survive this. The only one who looks at me and sees strength instead of damage." "I see both, and I love both." The words escaped before he could stop them. The air between them changed, charged, heavy with admission. Zoe stared at him, her breath catching. "You love me?" Her voice was barely a whisper. Marcus could have taken it back, could have claimed exhaustion, stress, could have retreated behind professional walls. But he was done lying to her, done lying to himself. "Yes." His hand came up to cup her face, his thumb brushing away tears. "I love you. I've loved you since I carried you out of that hell, and you looked at me like I was a hero instead of the man who'd failed you. I love your strength, your determination, your absolute refusal to let them break you. And I love the parts of you that are still healing, still scared, still fighting to be whole again." "Marcus," her voice broke. "You don't have to say anything. I know this is complicated. I know my timing is terrible. I know we have rules." He smiled sadly. "But you asked what you needed to make tonight better, and the answer is truth. So here it is. I love you, Zoe Laurent. And I will spend every day for the rest of my life proving that you're worth loving, worth protecting, worth everything." Zoe was crying again, but this time it wasn't from nightmares. "What if I can't love you back the way you deserve? What if I'm too broken, too focused on revenge, too—" "Then I'll wait." His voice was absolute certainty. "I'll wait until you're ready, until the nightmares stop, until you've gotten your justice and figured out who you are on the other side. I'll wait as long as it takes, Zoe, because you're worth waiting for." She kissed him. It wasn't gentle or hesitant. It was desperate, hungry, 3 years of longing and loss compressed into one moment. Her hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer, and Marcus responded, despite every instinct that screamed that he should pull away. He kissed her back like a man drowning, like she was air and he'd been suffocating. His hands tangled in her hair, tilting her head to deepen the kiss, tasting salt and need and everything he'd been denying himself. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Zoe's eyes were dark with desire. "Your rules? Fuck the rules." Marcus kissed her again, softer this time. You need this. We both do. One night where we stop being protector and principal and just be two people who've survived hell and found each other on the other side. Just tonight? Her voice held challenge and hope in equal measure. For now. He brushed her hair back from her face. Because tomorrow we go to war with the people who did this to you. And I need to be objective enough to keep you alive. But tonight, you're just mine. Zoe straddled him, her hands framing his face. Then make me forget, Marcus. Make me forget the nightmares and the threats and everything except how it feels to be wanted from me instead of feared for what I might do. Marcus flipped them, covering her body with his, careful to keep his weight balanced so she wouldn't feel trapped. Tell me if this becomes too much. Tell me if you need to stop. I won't, but her voice shook slightly. I trust you, Marcus. You're the only one I trust. He kissed her slowly, thoroughly, taking his time to map every response. His hand skimmed over her body, careful, reverent, giving her time to object or pull away. But Zoe arched into his touch, her own hands exploring the muscles of his back, his shoulders, his arms. You're beautiful, he murmured against her throat. So damn beautiful it hurts to look at you. You're the beautiful one, all controlled power and lethal grace. Her breath hitched as his mouth found the sensitive spot below her ear. I used to watch you when you didn't know I was looking, before the kidnapping. I'd see you scanning for threats, hyper-aware of everything, and I'd think, that's the sexiest man I've ever seen. Marcus pulled back to look at her. You thought about me? Before? Constantly. You were professional, untouchable, completely devoted to your job. Her smile was self-deprecating. I had such a crush on my bodyguard. How cliché is that? Not cliché. Just proof you have excellent taste. He kissed her again, deeper this time, his control starting to slip. Tell me what you want, Zoe. I need to hear you say it. I want you. All of you. I want to feel something good for once instead of just fear and rage. Her hands moved to the hem of his shirt. Please, Marcus, make me feel alive. He should have stopped, should have maintained boundaries, kept this professional, protected them both from the complication of physical intimacy. Instead, Marcus gave her everything. He made love to Zoe with a gentleness that belied the desperate need coursing through him. He took his time, learning what made her gasp, what made her arch, what made her whisper his name like a prayer. And when they finally came together, it was perfect, devastating and healing and absolutely right in ways that terrified him. Afterward, wrapped in each other in tangled sheets, Zoe traced patterns on his chest. That was, she stopped, searching for words. Life-changing? Marcus offered, only half joking. Terrifying. But she was smiling. I haven't let anyone touch me since the kidnapping. Couldn't stand the feeling of being vulnerable, of not being in control. But with you, I felt safe enough to let go. You're safe, always. He pressed a kiss to her forehead. But Zoe, we need to talk about what this means, about boundaries. I know. Tomorrow we go back to professional. Tonight was just... She trailed off. Just us, Marcus finished. Two people who needed each other. No regrets. No regrets, she agreed. But something in her voice said she was already regretting how complicated this made everything. They fell asleep like that, Zoe in Marcus's arms, both of them pretending they didn't know this changed everything. Morning came too soon. Marcus woke to find Zoe already dressed, sitting at her kitchen table with files spread everywhere. She looked up when he entered, and for a moment he saw vulnerability in her expression before she shuddered it away. I made coffee, she said, her voice carefully neutral. And I've been going through my father's files. Marcus, there's enough evidence here to take down half of Congress. Business. She was retreating into business because last night scared her as much as it scared him. Marcus could respect that, even if every instinct screamed at him to pull her back to bed and make her admit that what they'd shared mattered. Show me, he said instead, pouring coffee and sitting across from her. Zoe spread out documents, financial records, surveillance photos, intercepted communications. My father spent 2 years building this case. He documented every payment the Cordova cartel made to politicians, every law enforcement official on their payroll, every judge who'd been bought. It's comprehensive, damning, and absolutely dangerous. Marcus studied the files, his professional mind cataloging threats and complications. This implicates Senator Morrison, 3 congressmen, and... He stopped, staring at a name. Jesus, Zoe. Your father had evidence against the Deputy Attorney General? That's why they killed him. Her voice was flat, emotionless. Not officially. Not in any way that could be proven. But 6 months after he compiled this evidence, he had a convenient heart attack. No autopsy was performed. His death was ruled natural causes before his body was even cold. Who else knows about these files? Just me. And now you. Zoe met his eyes. My father left them to me with instructions. Use them to destroy the cartel or burn them to stay safe. He said he'd understand either choice. And you chose destruction. I chose justice. She stood, pacing. These people took everything from me, Marcus. My freedom, my innocence, my father. They thought keeping me alive was mercy, but it was just another way to torture my family. Now I'm going to use my father's evidence to expose them, prosecute them, and watch them lose everything just like I did. Marcus stood, catching her hand. And you understand what that means? Once we release this information, you become the single biggest threat to some of the most powerful people in the country. They won't just come after you with threats and surveillance. They'll come with everything. Good. Her smile was cold. Let them come. I'm ready. Are you? He pulled her closer, forcing her to look at him. Last night you woke up screaming from nightmares about 30 days in a basement. What happens when they escalate? When they don't just threaten but act? Can you handle going through that again? I won't have to go through it again. Her voice was steel. Because this time I have you. This time I'm not a scared senator's daughter. I'm a congresswoman with subpoena power, media access, and the best damn security specialist in the country protecting me. I failed you once. And you won't fail me again? She cupped his face. I trust you, Marcus. With my life, with this investigation, with everything. Do you trust me? It was a loaded question. Did he trust her judgment, her commitment, her ability to survive what was coming? I trust you, he said to Molly. But I also know how dangerous this is. So we do it smart. We build our case carefully, protect our sources, and we don't move until we're absolutely ready. Agreed. When do we start? Now. Marcus pulled out his phone. I've got a contact at the FBI, someone clean, someone we can trust. We'll need their help to verify this evidence and build a prosecutable case. Who? Agent Sarah Chen. She's with the Public Corruption Unit. I worked with her on a case 3 years ago, right before... He stopped. Right before you were assigned to protect me, Zoe finished. Does she know about what happened? She knows I left the Secret Service after losing a principal. She doesn't know the details. Marcus paused. Is that going to be a problem? Working with someone who'll ask questions? No. Zoe's expression was resolute. Let her ask. I'm done hiding what happened to me. If we're going public with this investigation, people are going to find out anyway. Might as well control the narrative. Marcus admired her courage even as he worried about the cost of that exposure. All right, I'll reach out to Chen, set up a meeting. But Zoe? Once we do this, there's no going back. Your life becomes public, your trauma becomes ammunition for their lawyers, and every detail of what happened to you will be dissected by the media. I know, but her voice wavered slightly. But hiding hasn't kept me safe. Maybe exposure will. Maybe if the whole world is watching, they'll think twice about coming after me. Or maybe it'll make them more desperate. Marcus pulled her close, unable to stop himself. I just need you to be sure. Because once we start this, I can't protect you from everything. Not from the media, not from public scrutiny, not from having to relive your trauma over and over. Zoe leaned into him, her forehead resting against his chest. I'm sure, because the alternative is spending the rest of my life running from shadows and waking up screaming. At least this way, I'm fighting back. Marcus held her, breathing in her scent, memorizing the feel of her in his arms. Last night had changed everything. He'd crossed every professional line, broken every rule he'd set, and fallen completely, irrevocably in love with the woman he was supposed to protect. It was reckless. It was dangerous. It was also the only thing that felt right. We should talk about last night, he said quietly. Zoe tensed. Should we? Yes, because pretending it didn't happen isn't going to work. Not when I can still taste you, still feel you, still hear you saying my name like... Marcus. She pulled back, her eyes conflicted. Last night was... incredible. But it also can't happen again, not while we're in the middle of this. You were right about needing objectivity, about maintaining boundaries. I was wrong. The admission came easily. I was trying to protect us both from complication. But Zoe, we're already complicated. We have been since the day I met you. Pretending we don't feel this just makes us liars. Then what do you suggest? Her voice held frustration and hope in equal measure. We can't have a relationship while you're protecting me and I'm investigating a cartel. It's too messy, too dangerous. So we acknowledge that it's messy and dangerous and do it anyway. Marcus caught her hand, laced their fingers together. I'm not asking for conventional, Zoe. I'm asking for real. Whatever that looks like for us. And if it compromises the investigation, if it makes you less effective at protecting me, it won't. If anything, it makes me more effective, because now I'm not just protecting a principal, I'm protecting the woman I love, and I will burn down the world before I let anyone hurt you again. Zoe's eyes filled with tears. You can't say things like that. You can't make promises you might not be able to keep. I don't make promises I can't keep. He pulled her close, kissed her forehead. I love you, Zoe Laurent, and I'm all in. On the investigation, on keeping you safe, on whatever future we can build together once this is over. So stop trying to protect me from myself and just let me love you. Messily, dangerously, however it works. She looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. I love you too. God, I've loved you for so long and been too scared to admit it. Too scared that loving you would hurt worse than anything the cartel could do to me. Then let's be scared together. Marcus kissed her, soft, gentle, full of promise. Let's take down these bastards, get you your justice, and build something good from all this darkness. Deal? Deal. Zoe kissed him back, deeper this time. But Marcus, when this is over, when we've won and I'm finally safe, I want everything. The house, the future, the normal life where I don't wake up screaming. I want to marry you and have your kids and prove that they didn't break me. Marcus's heart stuttered. Marriage? Kids? Eventually, when I'm ready, when we're ready. She smiled through tears. Is that too much pressure? Too fast? No. He pulled her impossibly closer. It's perfect. You're perfect. And I will spend the rest of my life making sure you get everything you want. They stood like that for a long moment, two people who'd found each other in tragedy, holding on while preparing for war. Then Marcus's phone buzzed, a text from Jackson. We've got movement. 3 vehicles circling the block. Could be surveillance. Reality crashed back in. They're watching us, Marcus said, pulling away reluctantly. Probably have been all morning. Zoe's expression hardened. Good. Let them watch me walk out of here with my head up and my armor on. Let them see that I'm not hiding anymore. Where are you going? To my office. I have a hearing this afternoon on campaign finance reform. Perfect platform to start asking uncomfortable questions about where certain politicians get their money. Her smile was sharp. Time to let them know the war is officially started. Marcus should have argued, should have insisted she stay in the safe house where he could control every variable. Instead, he strapped on his vest, checked his weapon, and prepared to follow her into battle. Because Zoe Laurent wasn't a victim anymore. She was a warrior. And Marcus Stone would be damned if he let her fight alone. The Russell Senate office building was a fortress of marble and politics, where power brokers made deals that shaped the world. Marcus hated everything about it. Too many entry points, too many civilians, too many places for a sniper to hide or a bomb to be planted. The security was decent, metal detectors, Capitol Police, controlled access. But decent wasn't enough when you were protecting someone the Cordova cartel wanted dead. You're doing the thing again, Zoe murmured as they walked through the corridor toward her office, flanked by Marcus's team. What thing? The thing where you assess every person as a potential threat and mentally calculate how many ways they could kill me. Her smile was fond despite the gravity. Your jaw gets tight when you do it. Everyone is a potential threat until proven otherwise. Marcus scanned a group of staffers hurrying past, and I count 17 ways someone could get to you between here and your office. 17? That's almost romantic. She bumped his shoulder lightly. Most men bring flowers. You bring hypervigilance and tactical assessments. Would you prefer flowers? I prefer you, exactly as you are. The softness in her voice made his chest tight. They reached her office, a modest suite she'd refused to upgrade despite her father's seniority giving her claim to better real estate. I earned this position, she'd told Marcus. I'm not trading on his name or his death. Inside, her chief of staff was waiting. David Richardson was 45, Yale-educated, and had worked for her father before transferring loyalty to Zoe. He stood when they entered, his expression troubled. Congresswoman, Mr. Stone, we have a problem. What kind of problem? Marcus was instantly alert. Someone leaked your hearing agenda to the press. David held up his tablet showing a headline. Freshman Congresswoman to grill colleagues on corruption allegations. Zoe took the tablet, reading quickly. This is more than a leak. This has details from my confidential notes. Someone in my office is feeding information to... She stopped, her face paling. To whom? Marcus asked, though he already knew. To Morrison's office. Senator Jack Morrison. He's mentioned specifically as one of my targets. Zoe looked at David. You're the only person who had access to those notes besides me. David's expression didn't change. Yes, ma'am, which means either I'm the leak or someone hacked my computer. I'll submit to whatever investigation you deem necessary. Marcus studied the man. David's body language was open, his tone sincere, his offer to be investigated immediate. Either he was clean or he was an exceptional liar. I believe you, Zoe said. But we need to secure all our communications. Marcus? Already on it. Marcus pulled out his phone, texting Jackson to sweep Zoe's office for surveillance devices. David, I'll need access to your computer, phone, and any files related to Congresswoman Laurent's work. And I need to know everyone who's had access to this office in the last 72 hours. Of course. David moved to his desk, pulling up records. We've had the usual cleaning staff, 3 meetings with constituents, and 2 representatives from other congressional offices requesting briefings on her infrastructure proposals. Names of those representatives? David rattled off names. Marcus recognized one immediately. Congressman Michael Torres, who according to Zoe's father's files, received $250,000 annually from a shell company linked to the Cordova cartel. Torres, Marcus said. When was he here? Yesterday afternoon. He was alone with the Congresswoman for approximately 20 minutes. Was he near your desk, your computer? David frowned, thinking. Yes, he asked to use the restroom, and I directed him. Right past my desk. I was in a meeting with staff. He could have... Understanding dawned. He could have accessed my computer while I was occupied. Not just accessed, planted malware. Marcus was already calling his tech specialist. Did anyone from his office send you files, email attachments, links? His aide sent a briefing document this morning via email. I haven't opened it yet. Don't, Marcus cut him off. That's probably how they're maintaining access. Delete it, wipe your system, and from now on, all digital communications go through encrypted channels only. Zoe was pacing now, her expression furious. They're in my office, in my communications. They've been watching everything I do since I got elected. Which means they know about your father's files, Marcus said grimly. They know you have evidence. This leak wasn't about embarrassing you. It was about forcing your hand, making you reveal your cards before you're ready. So what do? Marcus made a decision. We change the game. Instead of reacting to their moves, we make them react to ours. Today's hearing, you need to use it to go public with part of your investigation. Not everything, not the full evidence, but enough to make them panic. Panic makes them dangerous, Zoe said. They're already dangerous. Panic makes them sloppy. He moved closer, lowering his voice. Right now, they think they're in control. They leaked your agenda. They're watching your office. They're several steps ahead. So we give them what they expect, a freshman congresswoman asking uncomfortable questions. But we hold back the real evidence. We make them think they've successfully derailed you while we build the actual case behind the scenes. Zoe's smile was slow and predatory. We fake weakness while gathering strength. Exactly. You go into that hearing, you ask pointed questions about campaign finance and foreign money in elections. You make Morrison and his allies sweat, but you don't reveal that you have documented proof of their corruption. Not yet. And while they're congratulating themselves on containing me, Agent Chen and I build an ironclad case using your father's evidence. We secure witnesses, we trace money, we document everything, and when we're ready, when the case is so tight they can't slip out of it, we bring down the hammer all at once. David was nodding. It's smart. Give them a target to dismiss while the real threat builds in the shadows. But Congresswoman, you're going to take heat for this. The media will call you reckless, your colleagues will distance themselves, and Morrison will use his seniority to make your legislative life hell. Let him. Zoe's voice was steel. I didn't come to Congress to make friends. I came to burn down corruption. If that makes me unpopular, I'll wear it as a badge of honor. Marcus felt a surge of pride and terror in equal measure. This woman, fierce, uncompromising, willing to sacrifice everything for justice, was going to get herself killed or change the world. Possibly both. All right, he said. Then here's how we play it. Zoe goes into the hearing and performs exactly as leaked, asking tough questions, making accusations she can't fully prove yet. I'll have team members positioned throughout the gallery watching for threats. David, you'll be monitoring social media and news coverage, tracking how Morrison's people respond. And you? Zoe asked. I'll be right beside you. Close enough to stop any threat before it reaches you. He paused. And close enough to remind you that you're not doing this alone. Something soft crossed Zoe's expression. I'm never alone anymore, am I? Even when I want to be, you're there. Watching, protecting, loving me despite every reason not to. David cleared his throat diplomatically. I'll just go secure my computer. He left, closing the door behind him. The moment they were alone, Marcus pulled Zoe into his arms. I need you to promise me something before you walk into that hearing. What? Promise me you won't be reckless, won't let your anger override your judgment, won't put yourself at unnecessary risk just to prove a point. That's asking a lot from someone whose entire investigation is built on controlled recklessness. I know. He tipped her chin up, forcing her to meet his eyes. But I also know you have a death wish sometimes. I see it in how you volunteer for the most dangerous assignments, how you push boundaries, how you seem almost disappointed when you wake up safe instead of dead. She pulled away slightly. You think I want to die? I think you want to prove you're not afraid. And sometimes proving that means taking risks that terrify me. His voice roughened. I can protect you from external threats, Zoe, but I can't protect you from yourself, from your need to stand in the fire and dare it to burn you. Zoe was quiet for a long moment. Then, you're right. Sometimes I do want to stand in the fire. Because if I survive it, if I walk through flames and come out the other side, then maybe I'm not as broken as I feel. You're not broken? I am. She met his eyes. I'm broken in ways that might never fully heal. Ways that make me reckless because living safely feels like admitting they won. Like letting them keep me in that basement forever, just mentally instead of physically. Marcus cupped her face, his touch infinitely gentle. Then I'll stand in the fire with you, every time. And when you forget why you're fighting to survive, I'll remind you. You're fighting for us. For the future we're going to build when this is over. For the life where you wake up happy instead of screaming. Marcus, I love you. He said it like a vow. And I will keep loving you through every reckless decision, every dangerous choice, every moment you forget you're worth saving. So make me this one promise. You'll try. You'll try to survive this. Not just for the investigation, but for us. Tears slipped down Zoe's cheeks. I promise I'll try. That's all I ask. He kissed her softly. Now let's go make some powerful people very, very nervous. The hearing room was packed. Press filled the gallery, cameras positioned for optimal coverage. Staffers crowded the aisles, and seated at the witness table, looking supremely confident, was Senator Jack Morrison, 63, silver-haired, chairman of the Appropriations Committee, and according to Zoe's father's files, recipient of over $2 million in cartel money over the past decade. Marcus positioned himself along the wall, close enough to reach Zoe in 3 seconds, but far enough to scan the entire room. His team was scattered throughout. Jackson by the main entrance, Rodriguez near the press section, Chen covering the back exit. Zoe took her seat at the dais, her expression calm and professional. Only Marcus could see the slight tension in her shoulders, the way her fingers tapped once against the table. A nervous tell she probably didn't know she had. The committee chairman gavelled the hearing to order. The committee will come to order. Today we're examining campaign finance reform with particular focus on transparency and foreign influence. Congresswoman Laurent, you requested this hearing. You have 5 minutes for opening remarks. Zoe leaned into her microphone, her voice clear and strong. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be brief. Over the past 3 years, I've watched our political system become increasingly corrupted by dark money, foreign influence, and criminal organizations using campaign contributions to buy access and protection. Morrison leaned forward, his expression patronizing. Congresswoman, those are serious allegations. I hope you have evidence to support such claims. I do, Senator. And over the coming months, this committee will see exactly how deep the corruption goes. She paused, letting the implication hang. But today, I have specific questions about your campaign finances. Specifically, donations from companies that don't appear to have any legitimate business operations. The room went silent. Morrison's smile didn't waver, but Marcus saw his hands tighten on the table. I resent the implication. I'm not implying anything, Senator. I'm asking directly. Zoe pulled out a document. Can you explain why your campaign received $50,000 from Helios Trading LLC, a company with no website, no listed employees, and an address that turns out to be an abandoned warehouse in Baltimore? I'll have to check with my campaign finance director. Or what about Zenith Consulting? $75,000. Except Zenith Consulting was dissolved 3 years ago, which makes accepting their donation either fraud or money laundering. Morrison's face was reddening. Congresswoman Laurent, you're making accusations without context. I'm providing facts, Senator. Facts that suggest your campaign has been accepting money from shell companies designed to hide the true source of funds. And I have to wonder, what are those true sources? Who's really funding your political career? The press was furiously taking notes. Cameras zoomed in on Morrison's face. Marcus scanned the room, cataloging threats. A man in the press section was too focused on Zoe, his hand moving toward his jacket. Marcus shifted position, ready to move. But the man just pulled out a phone, snapping photos. This is outrageous, Morrison was saying. I've been in Congress for 30 years. My record speaks for itself. You, on the other hand, have been here for 6 months. You're using this platform to make wild accusations because you're desperate for attention. I'm using this platform because my father spent his final years documenting corruption, and I owe it to him to finish what he started. Zoe's voice carried across the room. He knew you were dirty, Senator. He knew about the money, the connections, the way you've used your position to protect criminal organizations. And before he died, conveniently, from a heart attack that was never properly investigated, he compiled evidence that will end your career. The room erupted. Morrison was shouting. The chairman was gaveling for order. Reporters were yelling questions. And Marcus saw it. A man in maintenance coveralls slipping through the back entrance, his gait wrong, his focus too intent on Zoe. Marcus moved. He crossed the room in seconds, intercepting the man before he could reach the dais. Maintenance doesn't enter during active hearings. Show me your credentials. The man's hand went to his waistband. Marcus saw the weapon before it cleared, grabbed the man's arm, twisted, drove him to the ground with brutal efficiency. The gun clattered across the floor. Chaos erupted. Capitol Police swarmed in. Marcus's team was already moving, surrounding Zoe, creating a human shield. Jackson dragged her from the dais as Marcus secured the would-be attacker. I've got him, Marcus told the responding officers. Armed assault on a member of Congress. Weapons there. He gestured to the gun. I want him processed immediately and his phone checked for communications. The man was cursing in Spanish, struggling against Marcus's hold. She should have stayed quiet. They told her to stay quiet. Who told her? Marcus demanded. Who sent you? But the man went silent, his expression shutting down. Marcus released him to Capitol Police, then turned to find Zoe. She was surrounded by his team, pale but composed, her eyes seeking his across the chaos. He reached her in 3 strides. Are you hurt? No. You stopped him before. Her voice broke. Marcus, he had a gun. He was going to... I know, but he didn't. You're safe. He wanted to pull her into his arms, wanted to carry her out of this building and never bring her back. We're leaving. Now. I can't. The hearing is over. Marcus was already coordinating with his team, planning their exit route. You made your point, Zoe. Morrison's rattled. The press has their story, and someone just tried to kill you on camera. We're done here. For once, she didn't argue. They moved as a unit, Marcus in front, Jackson and Rodriguez flanking, Chen covering their rear, through the corridor, down the stairs, avoiding elevators that could become traps, out a side entrance where their armored SUV was waiting. Marcus didn't breathe easy until they were moving, bulletproof glass between Zoe and the world. That was a message, she said quietly. They're telling me what happens if I keep pushing. And you just told them you don't care. Marcus took her hand. Which means they're going to escalate. No more public appearances without maximum security. No more hearings unless the room is swept and secured. And absolutely no going anywhere without me. Marcus. I'm not negotiating this. His voice was hard. You almost died today. Someone walked into the United States Capitol with a gun specifically to kill you, and they got close enough that I had to physically intervene. That can't happen again, Zoe. I can't. His voice broke. I can't watch you almost die. She squeezed his hand. You saved me. Again. I shouldn't have had to. Frustration and fear made him harsh. You pushed too hard, revealed too much, made yourself too visible a target. That man, whoever sent him, they now know you're not backing down, which means they'll send someone better next time. Someone I might not see coming. So what do you want me to do? Hide? Give up the investigation because they scared me? I want you to be smart. Marcus realized he was shouting, forced himself to lower his voice. I want you to remember that revenge means nothing if you're dead, that justice can't be served if you're not alive to see it delivered. I want you to choose survival, Zoe. Choose us. She stared at him, tears streaming down her face. I am choosing us. That's why I'm doing this. Because I can't build a future with you while there are still out there, still threatening me, still controlling my life through fear. I have to end this, Marcus. It's the only way I'll ever be free. Marcus pulled her into his arms, not caring that his team could see, not caring about professional boundaries or protocol. Then we ended together, but on our terms, not theirs. No more public grandstanding. We build our case quietly, carefully, and we only strike when we know we can win. Okay. She buried her face in his chest. Okay, we do it your way, quietly. Promise me. I promise. Marcus held her as the SUV navigated DC traffic, carrying them back to the safe house. He'd stopped one threat today, but he knew there would be more, many more. The Cordova cartel didn't send amateurs. The man in the hearing room was a message, a test. The real attack was still coming. And Marcus had to be ready, for Zoe, for their future, for the impossible task of keeping alive a woman determined to walk into fire. His phone buzzed, a text from Agent Chen. Need to meet. Urgent. Have information about today's shooter? Marcus looked at Zoe, still trembling in his arms, and made a choice. Whatever was coming, they'd face it together, even if it killed them both. Agent Sarah Chen looked like she hadn't slept in days. She sat across from Marcus and Zoe in the safe house's secure conference room, files spread across the table, her expression grim. Marcus had known Sarah for 8 years. They'd worked counter-terrorism together, trusted each other with their lives. If she looked this worried, the situation was worse than he'd thought. The shooter's name is Diego Vargas, Sarah began without preamble. Former Mexican Federal Police, dishonorably discharged 4 years ago for excessive force. Since then, he's worked as an enforcer for the Cordova cartel. So they sent a professional, Marcus said. They sent a message. Sarah pulled up a photo on her tablet, Vargas in custody, bruised from Marcus's takedown. He lawyered up immediately. Won't talk, but his phone records are concerning. Concerning how? Zoe leaned forward. He made 17 calls in the 48 hours before the attack, 3 to burner phones we can't trace. But the others? Sarah's jaw tightened. 5 calls to congressional offices, 2 to the Department of Justice, and 1 to a number registered to Vice President Laurent's security detail. The room went silent. Zoe's face drained of color. My father's old team? The people who were supposed to be protecting my family? No. One person on that team specifically. Sarah pulled up another file. Agent William Drake. He's been on the VP's detail for 6 years. Impeccable record, extensive background checks, absolutely no red flags, except for one thing. What? Marcus was already running scenarios, calculating threats. His sister was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer 8 months ago. Treatment costs over $300,000. Drake makes $95,000 a year. He has no savings, no assets, no way to pay for her care. Sarah met their eyes. But somehow, her treatment is fully covered. Anonymous donor. Payments routed through 3 shell companies before landing at Johns Hopkins. Marcus felt ice in his veins. The cartel bought him by saving his sister. That's my theory. And if I'm right, they have someone inside the vice president's security detail. Someone with access to intelligence about Zoe, her schedule, her investigation. Sarah turned to Zoe. Someone who knew exactly when and where you'd be vulnerable today. Zoe stood abruptly, pacing. My mother. If Drake is compromised, my mother is already protected, Marcus cut in. I had Jackson coordinate with the Secret Service this morning. Your mother's detail has been quietly enhanced. No one told Drake why. He doesn't know we're onto him. Yet. Sarah's expression was troubled. But Marcus, if we're going to use Drake to feed them false information, to control what the cartel knows, we need to move carefully. One wrong step, and they'll know we've identified their mole. Or we use him to set a trap, Zoe said quietly. Both Marcus and Sarah turned to look at her. We feed Drake information about my next move, something the cartel can't resist acting on. And when they do, we're ready. You want to use yourself as bait. Marcus's voice was flat, dangerous. I want to draw them out, make them commit to an attack we control instead of waiting for one we don't see coming. Zoe met his eyes. You said it yourself. The real attack is still coming, so let's control when and where it happens. Absolutely not. Marcus. I said no. He stood, his body tense with barely controlled fury. You're not bait, Zoe. You're not an asset to be sacrificed. You're the woman I love, and I will not put you in the crosshairs deliberately. I'm already in the crosshairs, her voice rose. They sent an assassin to the Capitol. They have someone inside my family's security. They're not going to stop, Marcus, so either we wait for them to pick the time and place, or we choose it ourselves. Sarah cleared her throat. I hate to say it, but she's right. Operationally speaking, a controlled engagement gives us advantages. Prepared positions, backup, the element of surprise. It's risky, but it might be our best option. Marcus turned on her. You're supposed to be the reasonable one. I'm supposed to be the tactical one. And tactically, Congresswoman Laurent is correct. Sarah's expression was apologetic but firm. We can't protect her indefinitely from an enemy with unlimited resources and inside intelligence. Eventually, they'll find an opening. Better we create one we can control. Better we eliminate the threat entirely, Marcus countered. We arrest Drake, expose the cartel's infiltration, cut off their intelligence source. And then what? Zoe challenged. You think Drake is their only asset? They've been planning this for months, maybe years. Drake is just the one we found. There could be others. She was right. Marcus knew she was right, which made his next words all the harder. Fine. We set a trap, but we do it my way on my terms with every possible precaution. He turned to Sarah. I need a location that's defensible but believable. Somewhere the cartel would think they could get to Zoe if they committed resources. The fundraiser, Zoe said suddenly. I'm supposed to attend a campaign fundraiser at the Watergate Hotel next week. High-profile donors, media coverage, security, but not overwhelming. Drake would know about it through official channels. Marcus was already shaking his head. Too public. Too many civilians. Which is exactly why they'd choose it. Maximum chaos, lots of witnesses, easy to disappear in the aftermath. Zoe's eyes were bright with dangerous determination. We leak through Drake that I'm attending despite security concerns, that I'm making a statement about not being intimidated. The cartel sees an opportunity, public venue, their inside man providing intelligence, a chance to eliminate me permanently. And we're ready, Sarah continued, catching on. We secure the venue in advance, plant our people throughout the crowd, control every variable we can. When they make their move, we take them down. And if something goes wrong, Marcus demanded. If they bring more people than we anticipate, if they have another asset we don't know about, if they're willing to kill civilians to get to Zoe, then you do what you do best, Zoe said softly, moving closer to him. You protect me. You've never failed when it mattered, Marcus. You saved me in that basement. You saved me at the hearing. You'll save me at the fundraiser too. I failed you once before. No, you didn't. The intelligence failed. The backup failed. You? She cupped his face. You spent 30 days searching for me when everyone else said I was dead. You carried me out of hell. You've spent 3 years making sure I survived what they did to me. You've never failed me, Marcus Stone. Not once. Marcus closed his eyes, leaning into her touch. Every instinct screamed at him to lock her in this safe house and never let her out. But he knew Zoe, knew her strength, her determination, her absolute refusal to live in fear. If he tried to cage her, he'd lose her anyway. 1 week, he said finally. We have 1 week to plan this perfectly. I want blueprints of the hotel, profiles on every staff member, background checks on every donor. I want sniper positions identified and neutralized, escape routes secured, medical teams on standby, and I want at least 3 backup plans in case everything goes to hell. Done, Sarah said. I'll coordinate with FBI hostage rescue. We'll have a full tactical team on standby, invisible but ready to respond in seconds. And I'll play my part perfectly, Zoe added. Confident congresswoman, refusing to be intimidated, making a public appearance despite threats. The cartel will see exactly what they expect to see. Marcus pulled her close, pressing his forehead to hers. If this goes wrong, if anything happens to you, it won't, because I have you. She kissed him softly. I trust you, Marcus, with my life, with everything. Sarah stood tactfully. I'll give you 2 a moment. Marcus, meet me in an hour. We need to start operational planning. She left, closing the door behind her. The moment they were alone, Marcus's control shattered. He pulled Zoe hard against him, his hands fisting in her hair, his mouth claiming hers with desperate intensity. She responded immediately, matching his urgency, her fingers digging into his shoulders. I can't lose you, he breathed against her lips. Not when I just found you. Not when we're finally... You won't. She kissed him again, deeper. We're going to win, Marcus. We're going to destroy them and build our future and prove that love is stronger than fear. That's naive. That's hope. She pulled back to look at him. And hope is the only thing that kept me alive in that basement. Hope that you'd find me, that I'd survive, that someday I'd get to feel something good again. You're my something good, Marcus. Don't give up on hope now. He kissed her again, softer this time, reverent, full of all the words he couldn't say. Then he carried her to the couch, needing her close, needing to memorize the feel of her while he still could. They made love slowly, desperately, like people preparing for war. Every touch was a promise, every kiss a vow, and when they finally came apart in each other's arms, Marcus held her while she trembled, while her breathing slowed, while she fell asleep feeling safe. He didn't sleep. Instead, Marcus lay awake planning, calculating angles, identifying threats, preparing for every possible scenario. Because in 1 week, he was going to deliberately put the woman he loved in danger. And if he failed, if he lost her because of his own plan, he wouldn't survive it. Not this time. The week passed in a blur of preparation. Marcus ran the team through scenarios until they could respond to threats in their sleep. Sarah coordinated with FBI tactical units, positioning resources throughout D.C., and Zoe played her part perfectly, attending meetings, giving interviews, publicly confirming she'd be at the fundraiser despite concerning but manageable security issues. Drake took the bait. Sarah's surveillance showed him making 17 calls in the days after Zoe's announcement, most to burner phones, but the pattern was clear. He was feeding intelligence to someone, presumably the cartel. They're planning something big, Sarah reported 3 days before the fundraiser. Drake's communication frequency has tripled. Whatever they're planning, it's not subtle. Good, Marcus said grimly. Means they'll commit resources, make it easier to identify and neutralize them. But the night before the fundraiser, everything changed. Marcus was reviewing final security protocols when his phone rang. Unknown number. He answered cautiously. Stone. Mr. Stone. The voice was calm, educated, lightly accented. My name is Carlos Cordova. I believe you're familiar with my organization. Marcus's blood ran cold. He gestured urgently to Sarah, who immediately started tracing the call. What do you want? To offer you a choice. Cordova's voice was almost pleasant. Tomorrow at the fundraiser, my people will make an attempt on Congresswoman Laurent's life. Your preparations are admirable. The FBI positioning, the enhanced security, the trap you're setting. But here's what you don't know. We're not sending our people to the fundraiser. Then where? We're sending them to your safe house right now, with orders to kill everyone inside. Marcus was moving before the words finished, weapon drawn, comm unit activating. Jackson! Rodriguez! Possible breach! The line was already dead. Too quiet. Sarah, get units to the safe house now! Marcus was running, taking stairs 3 at a time. And find Zoe! He burst into Zoe's apartment. Empty. Her phone on the table, her security bracelet, the one with the panic button, carefully placed beside it. And a note in her handwriting. Marcus. I'm sorry. They have my mother. Drake called 20 minutes ago, said the cartel is her, said they'll kill her if I don't come alone to a location they specified. I couldn't risk you stopping me. I couldn't risk them hurting her. The address is 2847 Warehouse Road, Anacostia. I know it's a trap. I know I'm probably going to die, but she's my mother, and I have to try. I love you. I've loved you since the day you carried me out of that basement. If I don't make it back, please know that you gave me 3 years of feeling alive instead of just surviving. That's a gift I can never repay. Don't follow me. That's what they want, both of us dead. Let me do this alone. Save yourself. Z. Marcus stared at the note, his world narrowing to a single point of absolute clarity. Zoe had walked into a trap to save her mother. She was going to die, unless he stopped it. Sarah, his voice was raw. I need that location hit now. Full tactical response, every resource we have, and I need air support, ground units, everything. Marcus, we don't have authorization. I don't care about authorization. He was grabbing weapons, strapping on body armor, moving with lethal purpose. The woman I love just walked into a cartel execution. I'm going after her. You can help or get out of my way, but either way, I'm bringing her back. Sarah met his eyes, saw the absolute determination there, and made her choice. I'll have tactical units at that location in 12 minutes. I'll coordinate from here. Good. Marcus was heading for the door. And Sarah, if I don't make it back, make sure they pay, all of them. Burn the entire organization to the ground. Marcus, promise me. I promise. Her voice was thick. Bring her home. Or die trying. Marcus ran to the armory, grabbed everything he'd need, assault rifle, extra magazines, breaching charges, med kit. He thought of Zoe walking into that warehouse alone. Thought of her facing the same men who'd tortured her 3 years ago. Thought of losing her because he'd been too slow, too late, too fucking stupid to see this coming. Not again. He'd failed her once, 30 days of hell, because he hadn't been fast enough, smart enough, good enough. But this time was different. This time, he knew exactly where she was. This time, he wasn't bound by protocols or authorization or rules. This time, Marcus Stone was going to war. And God help anyone who stood between him and Zoe Laurent, because he was done protecting her from him at distance. Done following rules. Done being civilized. The Cordova cartel had made a fatal mistake. They'd threatened the only thing in the world that mattered to him. Now they were going to learn what happened when you took everything from a man who had nothing left to lose. Marcus loaded his weapons, checked his gear one final time, and headed into the night. Toward the warehouse. Toward Zoe. toward whatever hell waited in the darkness. He'd find her, or he'd die trying. But either way, the Cordova cartel's reign of terror ended tonight. The warehouse district in Anacostia was a graveyard of industrial ambition, rusted metal, broken windows, shadows that held secrets and violence in equal measure. Marcus approached on foot, leaving his vehicle 3 blocks. Tactical units were 8 minutes out. Sarah was coordinating from command, tracking his position via GPS embedded in his vest. But 8 minutes might as well be forever when the woman you loved was inside a building with men who specialized in making people suffer. He moved through the darkness like a weapon, silent, precise, every sense heightened. The warehouse ahead showed minimal exterior lighting, but Marcus could see movement through gaps in the walls, at least 6 hostiles visible, probably more inside. His comm crackled softly. "Stone, this is Chen. Thermal imaging shows 12 heat signatures in the building. 11 clustered on the main floor, 1 isolated in the southeast corner, 2nd level." Zoe, had to be. "Copy that. I'm going in through the south entrance. Tell Tactical to hold position until my signal." "Marcus, you should wait for backup." 8 minutes is too long." His voice was flat, final. "I'm not leaving her in there 1 second longer than necessary." He cut the comm before Sarah could argue. The south entrance was a rusted metal door, partially ajar. Too easy, definitely a trap. Marcus didn't care. He moved inside, weapon up, scanning corners and shadows. The warehouse was a cathedral of decay, high ceilings, empty cargo containers, the smell of oil and rust and something else. Blood, recent. Marcus's jaw tightened. Voices ahead. Spanish and English mixed, casual conversation. They weren't expecting resistance, thought they'd already won. "Supposed to be here 20 minutes ago," someone was saying. "You think she ran?" "Where's she going to run? We have her mother in the van outside. The bitch shows up or mommy dies screaming." Laughter, cold, unconcerned. Marcus moved closer, using containers for cover. He could see them now. 4 men playing cards around a makeshift table, weapons within easy reach. 2 more standing guard near a metal staircase leading to the 2nd level. Where Zoe was. He needed to get to her without alerting the others. Needed to extract her before the entire situation went explosive. But as Marcus calculated angles and approach vectors, a door opened on the 2nd level. And Zoe walked out. Marcus's breath stopped. She was alive, bruised. He could see marks on her face even from this distance, but alive and moving under her own power. A man walked behind her, gun pressed to her spine, forcing her toward the stairs. "Look what we found," the man called down. "Little congresswoman came all by herself. No bodyguard, no backup, just like we told her." The men below looked up, smiles predatory. "Bring her down," one of them said. "Carlos wants to talk to her before we start the real fun." Marcus's vision narrowed to red. Every instinct screamed at him to start shooting, to kill every person in this building before they could touch her. But Zoe was too exposed, too vulnerable. One wrong move and she'd be caught in crossfire. He needed to be smart, controlled. He needed to be the weapon he'd spent 20 years training to become. Marcus holstered his rifle and drew his sidearm, better for close quarters. Then he moved. The first guard died silently, Marcus's knife finding the gap between vertebrae before the man could make a sound. He lowered the body quietly, already moving toward the 2nd guard. This one turned at the last second, started to shout. Marcus's hand covered his mouth as the blade slid between ribs, finding the heart. The guard slumped, and Marcus eased him down. 2 down, 10 to go. On the main floor, they were positioning Zoe in the center of the room, forcing her to her knees. The man who seemed to be in charge, Carlos Cordova presumably, stepped forward. He was 50, well-dressed, completely out of place in this industrial hell. He looked at Zoe the way someone might examine a curiosity, a problem to be solved. "Congresswoman Laurent," he said pleasantly, "thank you for coming. I'm sorry about the deception regarding your mother. She's quite safe in her residence, completely unaware of tonight's activities. But I knew you wouldn't come unless I offered sufficient motivation." Zoe's face was defiant despite her position. "Where is she? If you've heard her..." "I told you she's safe. I'm not a monster, Miss Laurent. I'm a businessman, and you've become very bad for business." Carlos circled her slowly. Your little investigation, your congressional hearings, your determination to expose my organization, it's admirable, really. Foolish, but admirable. Go to hell. Carlos smiled. Eventually, perhaps, but tonight, you're the one descending. Tell me, where are your father's files, the evidence he compiled? Somewhere you'll never find them. We'll see. Carlos gestured to one of his men. Miguel has a gift for extracting information. By morning, you'll tell us everything. Where the files are hidden, who you've shared them with, every detail of your investigation. And then, his voice hardened, you'll disappear. Just like last time. Except this time, your bodyguard won't find you. This time, you'll simply cease to exist. Marcus had heard enough. He stepped from the shadows, weapon raised, his voice carrying across the warehouse. That's not going to happen. Every gun in the building swung toward him. Carlos's expression flickered, surprise, then calculation. Mr. Stone, how predictable. The note said to come alone, and yet here you are, unable to resist playing hero. Here's how this works, Marcus said calmly, even as his heart hammered. You let her go, you walk away, and maybe, I don't kill every person in this building. Carlos laughed. You're outnumbered 10-1, even for someone of your reputation. Those are poor odds. You're right. Marcus's smile was cold. But I don't need to kill all of you. Just you, Carlos. One shot, right between your eyes. Your men might get me after, but you'll be dead. And without you, your organization falls apart. So the question is, are you willing to die tonight over a congresswoman's investigation? The silence stretched. Marcus could feel weapons trained on him from multiple angles, could calculate that he'd be dead 3 seconds after taking his shot, but if he took Cordova with him, if he gave Zoe a chance to survive... Marcus, no! Zoe's voice was desperate. Don't do this, just leave, save yourself. I'm not leaving without you. He never took his eyes off Cordova. Not this time, not ever again. Cordova's expression shifted. How touching. Tell me, Mr. Stone, is she worth dying for? Yes. The answer was immediate, absolute. Cordova nodded slowly. I respect that, truly. But unfortunately, love doesn't change the tactical situation. You're one man with one weapon. My people will kill you before you can fire a second shot, and then Miss Laurent watches you die before we begin her interrogation. Is that really how you want this to end? Marcus's finger tightened on the trigger. He was out of options, out of time, out of clever solutions. All he had left was the desperate hope that he could take Cordova with him and buy Zoe a few seconds to run. It wasn't enough. But it was all he had. Marcus Stone, this is FBI Tactical. Sarah's voice crackled through speakers Marcus hadn't noticed. She'd patched into the warehouse's PA system. You are surrounded by federal agents. Cordova, your men have 3 seconds to drop their weapons or we breach from all sides. 1, 2. The warehouse exploded with light and sound. Flashbang grenades detonated from multiple entry points. FBI tactical teams poured in, through doors, through windows, rappelling from the ceiling. Professional, overwhelming, absolute. In the chaos, Marcus moved. He crossed the distance to Zoe in 2 seconds, covering her body with his, shielding her from the violence erupting around them. Gunfire cracked, cartel members engaging federal agents, a brief but brutal firefight. Then silence. Marcus looked up. FBI agents had secured the room, weapons trained on surrendering cartel members. Cordova was on his knees, hands zip-tied behind his back, his expression one of absolute shock. Sarah's voice came through again. Building secure, all hostiles in custody. Stone, status? Marcus pulled Zoe up, his hands running over her frantically, checking for injuries. Are you hurt? Did they... I'm fine. She was crying, shaking, but whole. Marcus, you came. You actually came. Of course I came. He pulled her against him, burying his face in her hair. Did you really think I'd leave you? Did you really think I'd choose survival over you? Your note said not to follow. Your note was bullshit. He pulled back to glare at her. You don't get to make that choice for me, Zoe. You don't get to sacrifice yourself and expect me to just accept it. We're partners, remember? We face things together. I was trying to protect you. And I'm trying to protect you. That's what love is, you stubborn, reckless, beautiful woman. It's refusing to let go even when letting go would be safer. It's running into warehouses against impossible odds because the alternative is living without you. Zoe kissed him, desperate, grateful, full of everything they'd almost lost. I love you. God, I love you so much. I'm sorry I scared you. I'm sorry I... Don't apologize. Just promise me. His voice roughened. Promise me you'll never do this again. Never walk into danger alone. Never try to protect me by sacrificing yourself. Only if you promise the same. Marcus laughed, despite everything. Deal. Sarah approached, her expression relieved. We got them all. Cordova, his lieutenants, everyone involved in tonight's operation. And Marcus? Drake was picked up 20 minutes ago trying to flee the city. He's already talking, offering testimony in exchange for witness protection. Good. Marcus didn't release Zoe. What about her mother? Safe at the Naval Observatory, completely unaware anything happened. Secret Service confirmed she was never in danger. It was all a bluff to draw Zoe out. Zoe sagged against Marcus. Thank God. When Drake called, I thought they actually had her. They knew exactly what button to push. Marcus tightened his arms around her. And it almost worked. It did work, Sarah corrected. Except we had tactical units mobilized faster than anticipated, and Marcus went in before we were ready, which forced us to accelerate the breach. She gave him a look. That was incredibly reckless, by the way. You could have been killed. Worth it. Marcus kissed Zoe's temple. Every risk, every danger, every terrifying second, worth it. Agents were leading Cordova and his men out in restraints. The cartel leader looked at Zoe as he passed, his expression unreadable. You won, he said quietly. Congratulations, Congresswoman. You destroyed my organization, exposed my network, took everything I built. I hope it was worth the cost. Zoe met his eyes steadily. My father's dead because of you. I spent 30 days in a basement being tortured because of you. You took my innocence, my sense of safety, my ability to sleep without nightmares. So yes, Carlos, watching you go to prison for the rest of your life is absolutely worth the cost. Cordova nodded once, then let the agents take him away. Sarah began coordinating cleanup while Marcus guided Zoe toward the exit. Outside, the night air was cold and clean, washing away the warehouse's stench of violence. Zoe stopped on the sidewalk looking up at the stars. Is it over? Really over? The main organization is dismantled. Cordova will testify to avoid death penalty, which means everyone he was protecting goes down too. Morrison, Torres, the others, they'll all be arrested within 48 hours. Marcus pulled her close. So yes, it's over. You got your justice. We got our justice. She turned in his arms. I couldn't have done this without you, Marcus. Without your protection, your love, your absolute refusal to let me face this alone. That's what partners do. He brushed hair from her face. Now comes the hard part. What's harder than taking down a drug cartel? Figuring out who we are when we're not running from danger. Building a life that's about more than survival and revenge. His voice softened. Learning to be happy, Zoe. Really, genuinely happy. Can you do that? She was quiet for a long moment, then, I don't know. The nightmares won't just stop. The trauma doesn't disappear because we won. I'm still going to wake up screaming sometimes, still going to flinch at unexpected sounds, still going to carry what they did to me. I know. Marcus kissed her forehead. And I'll be there. Every nightmare, every panic attack, every moment you need reminding that you're safe. I'll be there, Zoe, for all of it. What if I can't give you the normal life you deserve? What if I'm always a little broken? Then you'll be my beautiful, broken, perfect partner. And I'll love every piece of you. The strong parts and the scared parts and everything in between. He tilted her chin up. You asked me 3 years ago why I kept looking for you when everyone else said you were dead. Want to know the real answer? Yes. Because even then, even before I really knew you, I recognized something in you that matched something in me. We're both damaged, both carrying trauma, both trying to prove we're more than our worst moments. The difference is, together, we don't have to prove anything. We just get to be. Tears streamed down Zoe's face. Marcus Stone, was that a proposal? Not yet, he smiled. When I propose, it'll be somewhere beautiful, somewhere that isn't a crime scene, somewhere worthy of the moment I ask you to spend forever with me. I'd say yes anywhere. I know. But you deserve romance, deserve the fairy tale proposal with flowers and speeches and a ring that costs more than my car. His voice roughened. You deserve everything good, Zoe, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life giving it to you. She kissed him, soft, deep, full of promise. Take me home, Marcus. The safe house? No, she smiled. Your real home, wherever that is. I want to see where you live when you're not protecting someone. Want to know what your bedroom looks like, what books you read, what makes you happy when you're not being a bodyguard. I want to know Marcus Stone the man, not Marcus Stone the weapon. Something in his chest cracked open. That's a terrible first date. Good thing this is technically our 100th date. We just didn't call them dates because we were too busy surviving. She laced her fingers through his. So take me home. Show me your world. And tomorrow we can start figuring out what our life looks like when we're not fighting for it. Marcus led her to his car, this woman who'd become his entire world. As they drove through DC's quiet streets, he thought about the future, a future that didn't involve danger or missions or constant vigilance. A future that was just them. It terrified him more than any firefight. And he couldn't wait to start living it. Epilogue, 6 months later. The beach house in North Carolina was perfect. Small, private, perched on a cliff overlooking the Atlantic. Marcus had bought it 3 weeks ago, using money he'd saved over years of high-risk private security contracts. He'd told Zoe it was an investment. Really, it was their escape, a place where Congresswoman Laurent could be just Zoe, and where Marcus Stone could be just the man who loved her. They'd driven down Friday afternoon, leaving DC's politics and pressure behind. Zoe had resigned from Congress 2 months ago, citing health reasons. The real reason, she was tired of performing, tired of being the face of anti-corruption, tired of living her trauma publicly. I did what I came to do, she'd told Marcus. I exposed them, destroyed them, got my justice. Now I want to live. So she was living. Writing a book about her experience, consulting for the FBI on human trafficking cases, sleeping through the night more often than not, learning to be a person instead of a symbol. And Marcus was learning too, learning to relax his constant vigilance, learning that not every shadow held a threat, learning that love didn't have to be dramatic to be real. Now, watching Zoe walk along the beach in the golden afternoon light, her face peaceful and unguarded, Marcus knew this was what winning actually looked like. Not revenge, not justice, just this. A woman he loved, living freely, choosing happiness. He jogged to catch up with her, catching her hand. What are you thinking about? How different I feel here, how quiet my mind is. She smiled. I like it. I like being boring and safe and just normal. You could never be boring. Marcus pulled her close. But I'm glad you feel safe. I always feel safe with you. She kissed him lightly. Even when you're being overprotective and ridiculous. I'm not overprotective. You checked the beach for threats before letting me walk on it. That's just smart security practices. We're on a private beach in North Carolina. The only threat here is sunburn. But she was laughing, her eyes bright with joy. Marcus loved that sound, loved that he could make her laugh, could give her moments of lightness after years of darkness. Zoe, he said, suddenly serious, I have something for you. Marcus, if you bought me another self-defense weapon. Not a weapon. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a small velvet box. This. Zoe's breath caught. Is that... 3 years ago, I carried you out of hell. 2 months ago, I almost lost you in a warehouse, and every day in between, I've loved you more than I thought possible. Marcus opened the box, revealing a simple platinum band with a single perfect diamond. I don't need somewhere more romantic than this. I don't need a grand gesture. I just need you to say yes. Tears were already streaming down her face. You haven't asked the question yet. Because I'm terrified you'll say no. Marcus Stone, afraid of something? Never thought I'd see the day. I'm afraid of exactly one thing, he said quietly. Losing you. Everything else, bullets, bombs, cartels, That's just noise. But you're everything. So yes, I'm terrified. Because if you say no, I'm not going to say no, you ridiculous man. Zoe was laughing and crying at the same time. But you still have to ask. Marcus dropped to one knee in the sand, taking her hand. Zoe Laurent, you're the bravest, most stubborn, most beautiful person I've ever known. You survived hell and came out stronger. You fought for justice and won. You taught me that love doesn't make you weak, it makes you unstoppable. Will you marry me? Will you spend the rest of your life with a hyper-vigilant bodyguard who will probably always check rooms for threats and won't let you walk anywhere without assessing danger levels? Yes. The answer was immediate, absolute. Yes, I'll marry you. I'll spend forever with you. I'll deal with your overprotective tendencies and your tactical assessments and your inability to relax. Because underneath all that, you're the man who saved me in every way a person can be saved. The man who loves me despite, or maybe because of, all my broken pieces. Marcus slipped the ring on her finger, then stood and pulled her into his arms. He kissed her deeply, tasting salt from her tears and the ocean breeze, feeling her heart beat against his chest in perfect rhythm. When they finally pulled apart, Zoe was smiling through tears. So what now? We plan a wedding? Buy a house, figure out what normal couples do. We do whatever makes you happy. Marcus brushed her hair back. If you want a big wedding with hundreds of guests, we'll do that. If you want to elope next week, we'll do that. If you want to travel the world or stay right here, whatever you want, Zoe, it's all yours. I want small, intimate, just people we love. She paused. And I want to start trying for a baby, soon. I'm 31, Marcus. I've spent too many years surviving instead of living. I want to build something, create life instead of just preserving it. Marcus's throat tightened. A baby. Is that too fast, too much pressure? We can wait if... No, he pulled her closer. No, it's perfect. You're perfect. The idea of you carrying our child, of building a family together. His voice broke. I didn't think I'd ever want that, didn't think I deserved it. But with you, I want everything. Zoe kissed him again, soft and sweet. Then let's have everything. The wedding, the baby, the boring domestic life where our biggest worry is what to make for dinner. Let's prove that we survived for a reason, so we could have this. Deal. Marcus swept her up in his arms, carrying her toward the beach house. But first, I'm going to make love to my fiancée and celebrate the fact that she said yes. I'd have been an idiot to say no. You'd have been an idiot to say yes. I'm difficult, controlling, and emotionally stunted. You're protective, dedicated, and learning to be vulnerable. Those are very different things. She kissed his jaw. Besides, I like difficult. Easy is boring. They made it to the house, barely. Made love on the deck as the sun set, then again in the bedroom, then once more in the shower because they couldn't stop touching, couldn't stop celebrating the impossible fact that they'd survived everything and found each other. Later, wrapped in sheets in each other, Zoe traced patterns on Marcus's chest. Do you ever think about what would have happened if you hadn't found me? If I'd died in that basement? Every day. His voice was rough. And every day I'm grateful I kept looking, that I refused to give up, that I was stubborn enough to find you. We're both stubborn. It's probably going to make marriage interesting. Interesting is better than easy. He kissed her forehead. Though for the record, I'm going to be an overprotective nightmare when you're pregnant. Fair warning. I'd expect nothing less. She smiled. Will you hire a security team for our baby, Mom? Obviously, and install cameras throughout the house, and teach them self-defense before they can walk. Marcus. What? Our child is going to be prepared for anything. Zoe laughed, the sound full of joy and peace, and a future neither of them thought they'd have. Outside, waves crashed against the shore. Inside, two people who'd found each other in darkness held on in the light. They'd survived hell. They'd fought monsters. They'd earned this moment, this peace, this love, this absolutely ordinary happiness. And tomorrow they'd start building their forever. Together. Always together. Because some love stories are written in blood and fire and the absolute refusal to let go. And those are the ones that last.